The day my best friend married the man I loved. She smiled at me and said, "I hope you're happy for us." I smiled back. Because sometimes the deepest betrayals don't come from enemies. They come from the people who know exactly how much it will hurt. Her name was Sophia. We had been best friends for over 10 years. We met in school, shared secrets, dreams, fears, everything. She knew my favorite songs, my worst memories, and the way I hid my feelings when something mattered too much. And she knew about him, Ethan. I had loved him quietly for years. Not the kind of love that demands attention. The kind that waits. The kind that hopes one day things will fall into place. Ethan and I worked in the same company. We started around the same time, slowly becoming close. Late night projects, shared coffee breaks, inside jokes, those small moments that built something real. But I never confessed. I always told myself I needed the right moment, a better time, more certainty. So when I finally introduced Ethan to Sophia at a casual dinner, I didn't think much of it. She smiled at him the way she smiled at everyone. Warm, friendly, effortless. I didn't see the shift. Not at first. It started with small things. She began asking more about him. What does he like? Is he dating anyone? Do you think he notices you? I thought she was just being supportive. That's what best friends do. Then she started joining us more often. Coffee breaks turned into 3 people instead of 2. Work conversations included her opinions. Ethan seemed to enjoy her company. Of course he did. Everyone did. She had a way of making people feel important. I ignored the discomfort growing inside me because I trusted her, because she was my best friend. One evening, I called her. "I think I'm finally going to tell him," I said nervously. There was a pause on the line. "Tell him what?" she asked. "How I feel." Another pause. Then she laughed lightly. "Are you sure? What if it ruins your friendship?" That thought had always scared me. But that night, I felt brave. "I can't keep pretending," I said. "Maybe you should wait," she suggested. "Make sure he feels the same." I hesitated. Then I agreed. Waiting felt safer. 3 weeks later, she called me. "I need to tell you something," she said. Her voice sounded different. Careful. "What is it?" I asked. "I've been seeing Ethan." The words didn't make sense at first. "Seeing Ethan," I repeated. "Yes," she said quickly. "It just happened. We didn't plan it." My chest tightened. "You knew how I felt about him." "I know," she said softly. "But you never told him. And he likes me." The simplicity of her logic was brutal. "You never told him. So he's free." So I took him. "I didn't want to hurt you," she added. But she had. Completely. I ended the call without saying much. That night, I cried for the first time in years. Not just because I lost Ethan, but because I lost Sophia, the person I trusted the most. Over the next few months, I avoided both of them. At work, I kept conversations short and professional. Outside work, I stopped answering calls and messages. They didn't try very hard to reach me. Life moved on for them, and I forced myself to move on too. But something inside me had changed, not into anger, into awareness. I realized something important. I had spent years being passive in my own life, waiting, hoping, trusting, while others made decisions. That had to change. I requested a transfer to a different department within the company, a more demanding role, higher pressure, better opportunities. If I couldn't control my past, I could control my future. The new position pushed me harder than anything before. Long hours, complex projects, high expectations. But I thrived because for the first time, I wasn't focused on what I lost. I was focused on what I could build. Months turned into years. I climbed higher in the company. Team leader, project manager, then senior strategist. My reputation grew. I became known for making tough decisions and delivering results. Meanwhile, I occasionally heard about Sophia and Ethan. They got engaged, then married. People said they looked perfect together. I stopped caring. Or at least, I told myself I did. 5 years later, everything changed again. By then, I was part of the executive leadership team. My office overlooked the city skyline. My schedule was full of meetings, negotiations, and strategic planning. One morning, my assistant walked in. "You have a meeting request," she said, "from Sophia." I stared at her. After 5 years of silence, "Why?" I asked. She didn't say, but it sounded urgent. I considered ignoring it, but curiosity won. "Schedule it," I said. When Sophia walked into my office, I barely recognized her. She looked tired, older than her years. Her confident smile was gone. "Hi," she said softly. "Hi," I replied, keeping my tone neutral. She sat down slowly. I didn't know where else to go, she admitted. "What do you need?" I asked. She hesitated. "It's Ethan," she said. My chest tightened slightly, but I kept my expression calm. "What about him?" "His business is failing," she explained. "He started a startup 2 years ago. It's collapsing. Debt, bad decisions, everything." I listened quietly. "And you think I can help?" I said. "Yes," she replied. "You're the best at turning things around. Everyone says that." I leaned back in my chair. 5 years ago, she took something from me without hesitation. Now she was asking for help. Life has a strange sense of balance. "Why would I do that?" I asked calmly. She looked down. "Because you're a good person," she said. I almost smiled. That word again. Good. For years, being good meant staying silent, letting others decide, accepting less. Not anymore. "This is business," I said, "not personal." "I know," she whispered. "We'll pay whatever you ask." That wasn't the point. Or maybe it was. "I'll consider it," I said. Over the next few days, I reviewed Ethan's company files. The situation was bad. Poor financial planning, overconfidence, risky expansion. He had built something on emotion, not strategy. And now it was collapsing. Finally, I made a decision. I agreed to take the case, but under strict conditions. Full control over restructuring. No interference. No emotional decisions. When I met Ethan again after 5 years, he looked different. Less confident. More uncertain. "Thank you for doing this," he said. I nodded. "Let's focus on the work." For the next few months, I worked intensively on his company. I cut unnecessary expenses, closed failing projects, rebuilt investor trust. Every decision was precise, calculated, professional. No emotions, just results. Slowly, the company began to stabilize. Losses decreased. Opportunities returned. One evening, after a long meeting, Ethan stopped me. "Why are you really helping me?" he asked. I looked at him. "Because I can." He frowned slightly. "That's it." "Yes." He studied my face. "I hurt you," he said quietly. I didn't deny it. "And Sophia hurt you even more," he added. Still, I said nothing. "I thought about it a lot over the years," he continued. "I should have handled things differently." "Maybe," I said. "Do you hate us?" he asked. I shook my head. "No." That surprised him. "Then what do you feel?" he asked. I thought about it for a moment. "Nothing," I said honestly. That was the truth. Not anger, not sadness, nothing. And somehow that was more powerful than any revenge. A few weeks later, the restructuring was complete. Ethan's company survived. Barely. But it survived. The contract ended. Sophia came to my office one last time. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For helping us. Even after everything." I looked at her calmly. "This wasn't for you," I said. She nodded slowly. "I know." As she stood to leave, she hesitated. I miss you, she said. The words felt distant, like they belonged to another life. I don't, I replied gently, not out of cruelty, but honesty. She gave a small, sad smile and walked out. As the door closed behind her, I turned back to my work. 5 years ago, I lost a best friend and the man I loved. At the time, it felt like everything, but it wasn't, because losing them forced me to find myself. And in the end, that was worth more than anything they took. They chose each other. One chose myself, and this time, that choice made all the difference.